Hello wonderful people, welcome to another tutorial. So I had already done the cutting of this tutorial in a previous video. You may just want to check it out. So this video is just going to be strictly the sewing tutorials, and you can see that the shirt dress is so beautiful. It has an asymmetric neckline, it has an asymmetric hem, and I'm very sure that you will love it. So if you are ready guys, let's just get into the video. For the sewing, I had already gone ahead to add hemming gum to the hem of the button of the front of the shirt. I also added hemming for the sleeve. I added the hemming for both sides of the front, and I also added hemming gum for the sleeve. And I also did well to add the collar stay. I added stays, the collar, and I just did everything. So the first thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to run a straight stitch here with stitch down for the button rack, and I'm just going to run a straight stitch all the way down. You might even choose not to stitch it down, but hemming gum sometimes can be so flexible and it tends to be removing later on. So that is the reason why I just decided to run a straight stitch all the way down, and I did the same thing also for the other side, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. So the next thing I'll be doing is that I'll be making the button rack face each other. I trimmed out the excesses by the neckline after folding in the button rack. So I just trimmed out the excesses and I placed the front shirt button line on each other, and I ran a straight stitch on it. So I'm doing this because it's going to serve as a guide by the time I want to join both the front and the back panel together. So I just ran a loose stitch, actually a very loose stitch. It does not need to be tight because we are still going to lose it afterwards. So the pocket is also going to be attached to the front panel of the shirt dress. So I'm going to go up by 1 inch above the lunge where I actually lunged. So I'm going to go up by 1 inch and I'm going to place the fabrics, that is the pocket, above the 1 inch. Then after placing it above the 1 inch, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start stitching starting from where I lunged, and I'm going to sew it using just 1 cm to the 6 inches gap we left for the pocket opening. So I'm going to start stitching from the first lunge to the second lunge, which is the 6 inches for the opening of the pocket, and I'm going to leave it at that. So for the pocket, I'm going to use a French seam to sew it. That is, I'm going to make the right side of the pocket out, and I'm going to make a direct stitch on it. So I'm just going to stitch the lower part of the pocket. I'm going to run a straight stitch, not even up to 1 cm, starting from the center place that we have launched. So I'm just going to stitch it all the way through, and I'm going to cuff it back towards the shirt dress, but I'm not going to stitch it or to stitch it down to where we launched. I'm going to leave it at about 1 inch before getting to where we launched, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. I'm also going to place a lunge at the end of where we stitched down. We're just going to trim out the excesses by the side, trim it all the way down, and after doing that I'm going to turn the pocket over to the other side. Having done that, I'm going to run a top stitch at the hem of the pocket that we stitched down, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. Run the top stitch all the way through the last place that we stitched. So you can see that the pocket is already coming out beautifully. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to stitch the main body's fabric, that is the front part of the shirt, down with the pocket, just to secure it firmly and to prevent it from removing. So I'm just going to run a top stitch on it and hold it down. I'm also just going to stitch down the upper part of the main shirt bodies to the pocket, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. I'm just going to make a stitch on it, not even up to 1 inch, sew it down, and also do the same thing for the other side. For the shoulder, I'm also going to use a French seam to join it. So I'm going to make the old side face the old side and make the right side appear outward. I'm going to run a direct stitch on the right side, a tiny stitch, and and I'm going to do the same thing for the other shoulder. And when I'm done, I'm going to turn it over to the old side, and I'm going to stitch down the old side using about 1 cm, and it's going to give us a clean stitch at the other right side, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. The next thing I'm going to work on is on the sleeve. So I had already used an hemming gum to secure the hem, so I'm just going to run a straight stitch on it, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, for the other sleeve, and I'm just going to run a straight stitch on both of them. Having done that, I'm going to make the center, that is where we launch for the sleeve, meet the center of the armhole, and I'm going to run a stitch, and I'm going to stitch both of them together. I'm just going to make the sleeve fit into the armhole, and I'm going to stitch it down using just 1 cm, both the front and the back armhole. The sleeve is going to run across both of them, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other armhole. I'm going to attach the sleeve of the other side also to it, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. So after attaching the sleeve, I'm also going to use a French seam to join the sleeve together. So I'm doing this because I just want the dress to have a neat finishing, because my overlocking machine cannot function for now as the power is off. So if you have an overlocking machine, you might not necessarily use a French seam. You might just sew it directly and you stitch it afterwards. So but for this tutorial, I'm just going to use a French seam. Stitch the right side first. I'm going to stitch it all the way through. Then afterwards, I'm still going to turn it to the other side to join the actual measurement, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. So when it was about 1 inch before I got to the pocket, I stopped the French seam, and I just went ahead to join the right side of the pocket with the right side of the back. I used the 1/2 inches allowance we left for that, so I just stitched it down. So for this, when you want to do your own, you can just fix the pocket, like stitch down the side of the pocket in order to avoid turning over and turning over. So I hope you got that. So when I finished stitching the pocket to it, I turned it over to the other side, and I stitched, and I took the measurement starting from the sleeve to where the pocket is. And when I got to where the pocket launch is, a slanted stitch is towards the pocket, just like the way it's appearing by the camera, to end where the pocket is starting. So I just hope you got that. I also stitched starting from the hem. I used about 1/2 inches to just join the hem also, and I stitched it. I did that because I wanted it to be much easy for me to slant it into the pocket, that is where the pocket launch ended. So when I got to where the pocket launch ended, I just slanted back the sewing towards the pocket, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. So having joined both sides of the shirt, the next thing to do is to fix the collar. So for the collar, I'm just going to use my tape rule to measure the neck, the round neck, to confirm if it's the same thing with my intended neck measurement. So when I measured it, I realized that I had about 17 inches, and what I need is just about 14 or 15 inches maximum. So what I will do now is that I will have to alter it. Yes, so what I will do is that I will just hold the shoulder line. I will just hold the upper part of the shoulder line, and when I hold it, it's going to go back to what I need. That is a method in which you can also use if you realize that your neckline is bigger. You can just hold it by the shoulder line and make it fit back. But if it's also smaller, what you can do is that you just trim it all the way around. So I just hope you got that. So that is what I did for mine. Having done that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach the collar stand to the neck. So I'd already placed a lunge at the middle of the back. So I'm going to make the lunge at the center of the collar stand fit into the lunge at the center of the back, and I'm going to stitch it down using just 1 cm all the way around, even into the front, just the way it's appearing by the camera. So for the collar, I turn it to the other side and I stitch it down, and when I stitch it down, I launched it and I did the same thing, and I did the same thing for the other side, and I turn it over to the right side. I folded the collar into two and I placed a lunge in the middle. I made the lunge match with the lunge at the collar stand, and I also took the third piece, which is the collar stand cover, and I also made a lunge at the middle, and I'll be stitching the three of them together just like the way it's appearing by the camera. So to finish up the collar stitching, I'm going to make both the collar stand and the collar stand cover to be by each other, and I'm going to run a straight stitch beside it, making sure that the actual shirt is not being stitched down the way it's appearing by the camera. Having done that, the last thing we are going to do for the collar is to sew down the collar stand cover, the main shirt dress. So I'm going to do that by just running a straight stitch in between the seam line, just like the way it's appearing by the camera. I'm just going to make sure that it's properly seated, and I'm going to run a straight stitch all the way to the other side. So this is what it looks like when we are done. I'm just going to fold the collar and I'm just going to give it a nice press, and that is it for the collar. So for the hem of the shirt, I'm going to use this bias to turn it over to the other side, and that is because there is a sharp edge around this side, and if I want to just tape it in, it might be quite difficult for me to tape in. So I'll just use a bias to turn it over and turn everything to the other side. So I am done stitching the bias to the main fabrics. What I'm going to do now is just to turn over the bias to this side, and I'm also going to run the straight stitch way around the shirt. So guys, this is what we have when I'm done. You can see that the hemming is so neat. The thing I'll be doing now is that I'll be stitching the button hole where the button is going to go in. So it depends, you can choose to use either the left side or the right side, but I'll be using the right side for mine. So I'll just go ahead and stitch it down just like the way it's appearing by the camera. For the buttonhole, I reversed the sewing and I make sure that it is thick enough. So that is one of the reasons why I added hemming gum to this place, so that by the time I want to make the reverse, it's going to be durable enough to hold the stitch we are placing for the shirt to enter. So the next thing I'm going to do now is that for me to prevent the opening at the bust region, I'm just going to measure bust point. My shoulder to my bust point is 9 inches. I'm going to go ahead and place that 9 inches starting from this shoulder line, my bust point, that is 9, and I'll just shock out the 9 inches. So by this place, I will ensure that I put a button opening here, so that will help me to prevent opening at the bust region. And after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to measure the midpoint. I'm just going to place an even measurement starting from here to here. I'm going to measure it. We have 8 inches here, and I'm going to use the midpoint, which is 4, and I'm just going to shock it out, and that will be the second button, while this will be the third button, and I will keep on going. I'll measure 4 inches, 4 inches, and measure it all the way down, but I won't get to the end. I will leave 8 inches by the hem that I will not stitch, and that will be for the slits at the hem of the shirt. be leaving 8 inches. That will be the opening, that will be the slit at the front of the shirt. So this place there will be no button for 8 inches. So after stitching down where the button will enter, the next thing for me to do is just to use my scissors and make an opening in here. And I'm just going to go ahead to fold this into two and gently place a lunge in between it, not too wide and not too close, but just enough for the button to pass through. So I'm just going to take it easy and lunge it. Then this is what we have. So I'm going to do the same thing all around, all over, and when I'm done, the last thing I'll be doing is to fix the button to the other side of the shirt. So for us to tag the button, I already passed the thread and I doubled it, making it into 4. Then what I will do is to ensure that the button is sitting at where the button hole is. So once I ensure that it is well balanced, the next thing I'm going to do is just to tack it down using my needle and my thread. I'm going to take the needle and pass it to the back, make it enter inside one of the holes, pull it out, take it to the other hole, pull it out, and I'm going to do this 2 times. I'm going to do this 2 times. Then after passing it out, I'm also going to make it go through the third hole. Then make it come out of the fourth hole. You may choose to do this 2 times. I may just choose to do it once. So I'm doing my own 2 times. Sometimes it's just going to make the button more secured and it's going to make it longer before tearing out. So, but you may choose to do it 1 time anyhow. Just make sure that it's properly fixed. Then the next thing I'll do, I'll take the thread, pull it under the fabric, bring it out, then take the thread and use it to cross it like 2 times, then pull it out again, tie it down, then I'll go ahead to hide it inside one of the fabrics, then pull it out. And that is how to tack the button. So I'll just go ahead and do the same thing. I've done it for the upper part and I'll just go ahead to do the remaining 2 buttons. And that is it. So guys, you can see that our shirt dress is ready, looking so beautiful. Please, if you have not subscribed, remember to do that. And if you have any question of any type, just drop it in the comment section and I'll do well to attend to all questions. Please, and also don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you can get informed as soon as I post new tutorial, which I'm sure and certain that you will surely benefit from. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like you can see, the shirt dress is so beautiful and the pocket is even making it look so comfortable. So do well to also try it out. Just follow the steps strictly and try it out. And if you have any question, you can just drop it in the comment section and I'll see you guys later. Bye.